Welcome back to another Jesse Rosinski show. Gonna jump into this one quick. And it's I'll jump into first with the guy that seems to get a lot of attention as of late. A lot. At least for the last just about a year, he seems to be everywhere, at least all over the propaganda machine that is the mainstream media. I mean, it's all over it. To include now CBS is getting butchered for all the editing they did and stuff of the interview with him for 60 minutes, I believe it was, just so everything fit their narrative. Because why wouldn't they do that? Everyone says they're not biased. They're not. No, they're just doing all this to make everyone on the opposite side of their political feelings look terrible. But that would be Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida, who had to declare a state of emergency. Yeah, I'm sure. Well, actually, I'm pretty sure probably no one heard about it. Actually, never mind. Mainstream media has to be all over it because it's about DeSantis. But as a reservoir holding millions of gallons of radioactive wastewater from an old phosphate plant could collapse. Could. I mean, it's going to, but, it could. And if it did, it'd be horrifically catastrophic for the area and everything, especially with the amount. I mean, 340 million gallons could breach, and they said it would happen within seconds, and that'd be 20 foot high with just a wall of water coming at people. And that's just what their experts are saying that did it. But they said that if it goes, it could go within seconds. That's 340 million gallons of radioactive wastewater. I mean, that would kill everything everywhere, really. I mean, think about it. What would survive that? I mean, 340 million gallons of radioactive, that gets, that'll, animals, plants, the houses that would get destroyed, all that stuff. And then it's radioactive, which means, that would be a big problem for a very long time there. Getting to, waterways, and especially in Florida. Well, there's water everywhere. That could be cataclysmic. But, here's my big problem with it. And this goes across all boards, apparently, but only the left seems to, comment on these for some reason, for the most part. But you looked at CNN, NBC, ABC, Fox, Daily Wire. I saw it people share it from all across the board, different media sources. And there was everyone, over 3/4 of the, comments, because, there's some good gems in there, where everyone just dumping all over DeSantis and the Republicans, and they don't care about infrastructure. This is Democrat. This never would have happened. Wouldn't have been possible. It's not fathomable. And that was over 3/4 of the comments. So congratulations to the people on the left who are right on it on all, no matter what, the conservative news outlets, leftist outlet. Anyway, well, they were just all over it. And it's amazing, though, how they say it wouldn't happen if a Democrat was, in charge. Because, Democrats care about infrastructure, and look at the bill they're trying to do, and, all the other stuff. I think it's 5% goes to cover roads and bridges, 5% of all this money. Because most of it has nothing to do with actual infrastructure. They're just throwing it out there. There's a tax hike increased. I mean, a bunch of, social equity, racial equity programs, just stuff like that. Almost nothing has to do with actual infrastructure, but that's for another day. But there they are saying, well, the Republicans and conservatives don't care about the environment or infrastructure at all. That it never would have happened in a blue state. So, without even having to think, let's go to California. Super blue state, super liberal. And we all know that. I mean, doesn't take a brain. It's been that way for a very long time as well. Right? I mean, look at all their fires because they're bad forestry, practices. You're supposed to cut trails and stuff and roads in between them to break up the forest. So, it can't just spread and take out hundreds of acres, tens of thousands of acres every year. That's forestry control right there that can be done. It should be done. To stop these big fires from happening everywhere, because there's people, all states, have some kind of fire. At some point, someone throwing a cigarette butt, someone doing something stupid. Where there are lots of dry places and things happen. Like, it's not like every year national news that tens of thousands of acres are getting mauled every year because you guys just have poor maintenance with your forestry department and keep track of that stuff to do things that stop it from just barreling right through everything. Try to help, slow down fires if they start. But that's not the big one. The big one wasn't even a year ago. Third week of May last year. I remember it. Well, everyone else was freaking out over COVID. I was paying attention to the rest of the stuff. Because, I'm not afraid. Way worse tried to kill me, but how about we go to a place far, far away for some of us. Way too close to home for others. We're going to go to the state of Michigan, who is run by Gretchen Whitmer, who's a Democrat. She's only been in charge since 2019, I believe. But, if this never happens, if a Democrat was in charge, why on earth did we have the Edenville Dam fail last May? And the Sanford Dam was compromised on the Tittabawassee River, which is a tributary of the Saginaw River in Michigan, run by a Democrat. It would never happen if it was a Democrat in charge. Why did it happen? The part that I'm trying to get at here is that our infrastructure, no matter who's running it, the state, there's still the Army Corps of Engineers and all these people that are supposed to be running this, looking at this stuff regardless of who's in charge. And it happens in both red and blue states. Happens all over the place. Bad things happen all over the place, whether it's forestry stuff, infrastructure stuff. Can't go and say, well, that's because it's this guy running it and this party. No. This stuff happens all the time. It's just you people don't, most people don't pay attention. To see most of it. They just see what, the mainstream media wants them to know about. And they don't actually look anything else up, which is why I'm sure most people didn't even hear about the dams in Michigan last year. Didn't. Everyone, they were all over COVID. Ah! So any of them were talking about COVID and Trump. Trump. Who cares if dams are, failing? Bad things are happening because of it? No. Never got any words, but somehow DeSantis, he's got more coverage out of this than they did up there. It's only convenient. Now, it happens to a Republican governor. Then the mainstream media will jump all over it, especially when they're trying to pass a giant infrastructure bill. Hey, look at this. Well, this is why we need to do it. And even though almost barely any of it has anything to do with actual infrastructure, but here they are. They got their chance and they jump all over it because they don't let anything go by. Can't let it slide. That wouldn't be very Democrat of them. I can't say democratic because that's just offensive to the word, but Democrats don't let any of these go by. They take advantage of every bad thing that happens. To fit as long as it fits their thing, they will jump all over it. That's what they do. But for the whole world, everyone in the country, there's a lot of us that understand that what I'm trying to say here is that it happens all over the place. It's just you never hear about it unless it's on one side. Because the mainstream media that covers all this stuff is leaning towards one side. But this isn't a red problem, a blue problem. This is a red, white, and blue problem. America. Infrastructure has been garbage for a very long time. Look at all the bad things that happen. It always waits till tragedy happens for them to fix anything. It's true, no matter who is in charge, everyone says they're going to do it. And also, all the regulations and red tape they have to go through, that slows down a lot of it. And then you want to put, Biden then want to put more regulation. That's going to keep anything at all from getting done. That's the biggest problem we have right now. All the red tape and idiocy. And while they do this, nothing's actually going to get accomplished. Barely any of it's going to infrastructure, and they're just having everyone play it's that party's fault game. Like, no, it's everyone's fault. Like, this happens in all states, no matter who the hell is running them, no matter what parties, like, in the governor or secretary of state running the houses for the state, like, it doesn't matter. This happens all over the place. I'm not going to say every state, but I'm very positive there's actually bad things in every state that have been getting put off and need to be taken care of that aren't. I see it as a country problem. I mean, again, it's not being pushed that way. And you can see, like, again, look through the comments. There's some gems of everyone just going off. Because everyone thinks it's just, well, that's because they don't care about it. No, it happens in all the states. It's just, a certain party in the media are just, love to jump all over one because they're all one giant machine. But this is a real whole country thing, so great if everyone could wake up to that. Because again, the only way we're going to get any of this any better is if we actually come together as a people and give a damn and stop being divided by crazy, crazy people. Speaking of crazy people, let's get into a BLM activist. This one's probably going to get me in trouble. BLM, that's going to be... Everyone's going to hear that and freak out. But BLM activists saying that all hell will break loose and buildings will be on fire if Chauvin isn't convicted of murder. The quote is, "Don't be surprised when buildings are on fire. Just say." And this has always been my problem with BLM. And there's dummies. You know who you are. I listen to the mainstream media. The Democrats are like, they're blah. It's just been hijacked. It's mostly peaceful. They're not all for that. Because, that's all they have. Like, that's not what the media said. Well, if you look at their mission statement and what do we want? Cops, when do we want them now? Pigs in a blanket, fry them up like bacon, There they are. There's an activist saying they're going to burn stuff to the ground if they don't get their conviction, which I'm pretty sure they're going to burn stuff to the ground regardless of what happens. And if it really, here's the big one. For all you people out there that I've argued with, or people that have been argued with, the great question, the great equalizer is, when did they denounce any of this? BLM. Last time I checked, there were BLM people in the organization saying, that were encouraging the looting and everything last year. Saying, it's okay, the companies have insurance. They're just getting theirs. This is like you're encouraging criminal, pretty big felonies actually. They were encouraging it, but you never hear them say, nope, no violence, we can't do that. If it was really hijacked and it wasn't really them, why haven't you ever heard them say, no, that's not us? Come out in large numbers. People, but you see them continuously saying stuff like this. Or let them loot, let them do all that with reparations, they deserve it, whatever. People have insurance. They can rebuild. No, I'm sorry. Arson, larceny, all these things are not just let it go. I'm sorry. Not saying anything and denouncing it, and actually slightly encouraging it at times, depending on who it was in the organization. There's nothing mostly peaceful about that. The amount of buildings that were burnt down, and lives that were ruined, and people died, cops injured, all that. Well, during all the stuff like that, there's nothing mostly peaceful about that. Sorry. If you think there is and it was just hijacked, why do people keep saying stuff about violence and buildings are going to burn to the ground and they don't come out and say anything against it? Because that's really their thing. If you're really against it, come out and say it. Silence is pretty much consent. Terrible phrase, hate it, but silence is consent in this situation. If you're not telling people to stop doing it and you're against it, just the way it is. I'm sorry, if you don't like it, tough. Deal with it. Too bad, so sad. It really does suck to be you. And that's always been my biggest problem, though. And then them saying, well, it's going to burn to the ground. Well, what the hell is that going to accomplish? What is it going to accomplish? And how are they going to stop this from happening at all? Because the last time I checked, the original autopsy was done. Drug overdose. Family's like, oh, really? And they're lawyers, so they brought an independent guy. Drug overdose. Like, I mean, 3 times the lethal dose of fentanyl, I believe, was in his system. Like, drug overdose. Which means the murder one's going to be really, really hard to convince everyone on in the jury. Yeah, just with that fact alone, it's a real fact. It's out there. Look it up. But, like, it's just set up like no matter what, it's going to be bad. They kept it in Minneapolis, where how the hell did they find anyone to be on the jury that didn't hear about it or have any feelings about it? I'd really like to know the answer to that one, how that's even possible whatsoever. And if they moved it, I mean, what would happen to that city? That city would get destroyed no matter what. It's either another city gets destroyed, Minneapolis gets destroyed again. I mean, there's no good way around it. And you know everyone's just going to let it go. Oh, they're mostly peaceful, just let it go. Like, you know, all hell's going to break loose, and the people that are in charge are going to be like, eh. Like, that's how they handled it last year. They didn't even mention it. Well, it's crazy. They're just propaganda. They're just trying to spread all this about these people. Like, it's mostly peaceful. Everything's okay. Like, no, bro, it's not. And it's going to come back to a city near you. Guaranteed, because this is not going to end well. It's impossible. Hate to say it, but any one of us that has a brain that's actually read any of the facts knows this is a powder keg, and it is physically impossible for it to not blow up like a nuclear warhead and bad things to happen all over again. I mean, their ones last year already outdid, like, the LA riots after Rodney King by a mile. What the hell do you think is going to happen in round 2? Like, it's just going to be ugly. Mark my word, but moral of it is if BLM, really was hijacked and this wasn't their thing, they, stop telling their people to talk about it and stop saying things like this and all that. But they never do. Which pretty much should say enough to you. If it doesn't say enough to you, please, for the love of God, do us all a favor and get yourself checked. Or wake up. Do something. I don't know. But for the love of God, it's kind of, when it's smacking you right in the face, how do you deny it? This brings us on to the last one. This thing just irritated the snot out of me. But Ida B. Wells Barnett High School in Portland, Oregon. Trying to change its name, mascot from Trojans. All connotations, whatever. And now they're saying that decision that they made, where they all came together, had this thing, people making the decisions, that now suddenly there might have been a really big blind spot when it came to what they picked. Because they picked the evergreen tree. That's what they picked. And now suddenly they're delaying the vote because they might have had a really big blind spot. And they wanted it to be seen as a tree of life, not a tree of death. But, it can be seen as, a symbol that's, cause fear and be reminiscent of lynching. Like an evergreen tree. I think of like woods and holidays and stuff. Like, I don't immediately go lynching and racism. Like, I'm sorry. Unpopular opinion. Could be popular. Who knows? That the only people that, find racism and everything and stuff like this are people that are actually racist. Why? Because normal people don't have those thoughts cross their mind ever. Let alone every 3 damn seconds like it seems to be. And if you got to this point where it's going to be up for a vote, why do you suddenly have to delay it? Because it was a blind spot. It might be considered, a symbol of, lynching. Like, one, who the hell is, no, look at the trees down south. You're not hanging anything from an evergreen tree or anything. And, it's hard to hang, carrots from there without the branches, going, whew. Come on. Like, most of this stuff happened down, in the south, and we know it wasn't evergreen trees. Now, did lynchings happen? Yes. Were they a real problem? Yes. Do we still get to see stories of them occasionally happening? Sadly, yes. Are we well beyond that stage where it's happening all the time? Yeah. Most people are actually fairly decent and don't ever see racism in everything. And guess what, though? There's racists clear across all boards, all colors, all everything. It's not just white people. People of all skin colors are racist against people of other skin colors. It's just the way it is. Sorry. And they preach that stuff to people. There's nothing we can do to get it. Like, you can't fix all that. You can't get it out of people. But, continuously just saying this is racist and that's racist and this is racist, and everyone just thinking about everything and just overthinking everything and making everything out to be racist. What the hell are we going to be left with? And that's causing more racism because now everyone's thinking everything's racist because that's all they've been talking about. Believe it or not, the whole country is not violently racist. The evergreen tree is not a symbol of lynching. Like, now everyone's going to have that thought and be overly thinking everything because that's all anyone can do because everyone's just so triggered. The second they complain, they know they're going to get their way. Like, for the love of God, this isn't going to get fixed until we all, actually unite. Stop listening to these jackwagons running the joint, and that includes the media because they're just the propaganda machine. Like, they just keep getting proven to be lying and, editing stuff to fit their thing, and people just keep listening to them and considering them, to be like gods. And, sorry, they're not. And they're pushing all this racist thing, which is why they moved it from the Trojans. They decided on evergreen tree, which they all, agreed with. And now suddenly they go to vote on it. It's like, well, it might have been a blind spot. We should delay this and rethink it. As a tree could be reminiscent of lynching. I'm guaranteed, that's the last thing on any normal person's mind. Anyone who isn't actually racist, because only racist people think about race all the time. Sorry. Don't like it, tough. But I've never had any of those thoughts, but I don't have that in my brain. Even when they keep telling me to think all that, I don't have those thoughts in my brain, so I just can't do it. Just the way it is. You don't like it, tough, but goddamn, everything isn't racist. Believe it or not, an evergreen tree can just be an evergreen tree. It only has any connotation to racism when you think and have the thought and go, well, it could be. Everything could be, genius. Everything, literally, everything could have some kind of racist connotation associated with it. Everything, all of them. If you really stop and think about it, we're going to do, erase everything? Because it could be conceived away? Well, guess what? You can conceive things any way you want. Doesn't make them true. Doesn't mean we should bend to everyone that has a thought. Just, I'm sorry. It should not happen. That is dumb. And this whole entire situation is dumb. Damn. Can we please stop now? Can we stop just caving into idiots? Just move on and start uniting. Right now, all that's happening is we're getting more and more divided. Remember, Mr. Unity and all those people, well, they're not stopping any of this. They're actually encouraging all this, like the MLB game. All-Star game moving and all that, voting laws are racist. Everything. Jim Crow is now Jim Eagle. Everyone's just spreading so much racism and hate. Still. It's going to take all of us normal folk that have brains to unite this joint because they're just going to keep dividing until there's nothing left. And, that's not what we're built on. Look how long it took us to get all these rights, and now look how quickly everything's getting taken away and blown apart, and everyone hates each other, and it's all part of the game, but everyone keeps falling for it. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I don't like idiots. Maybe this falls into both of those categories, but but with that being said, got some good stuff coming up tomorrow, but found it, last night, but I decided to wait until tomorrow just so I could wrap my head around it and not be so vicious and hostile about it so I don't get myself in trouble for saying anything crazy. So that's tomorrow. Share, comment, follow. The shares help. Tell people, get the word out there. Follow along on everything. At least all the ones that you have accounts in. It's the more followers, the more comments, Helps everyone in the long run. It's the Jesse Rzinski Show. Videos are on Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. And there's the audio-only show on Spotify, Anchor, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, and Google Podcasts. It's all on there. If you go on Spotify, there's a link in the thing right there at the top. You click more, and you can get right to the Anchor site. Listen there to give support. One-time payment, monthly recurring, whatever you want to do, or keep doing nothing. That's what I expect, and that's quite all right. But, again, if you have any of those, follow. Like and follow. It helps get it to more people out there, But share the hell out of it. Comment, tell me what you think. Get it out there. Enjoy the rest of your day. Be good to each other. Remember, tomorrow I got some good stuff coming. So I look forward to that. And until tomorrow, my friends, peace.